Afternoon, everybody. Okay, so we are looking at quadratic formula. We've already seen a little bit of this information. So you got quadratic form. Is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Quadratic equation then is going to be x equals, it's a way of solving, so it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? This part here, don't worry about quite yet, except for knowing what the discriminant is. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. That's just the part that's under the radical. So, when we get to the first part, or first example, it says use the quadratic formula to solve for the variable. Okay? So in this case, we're looking for b. So I need to start by finding a, b, and c. And I'm actually going to write these side by side instead of one and then the other. So b, c. So a is 4, b is 3, c is negative 3. It's already in quadratic form. Remember, that's always the first step, is I need to put it in quadratic form. Once I do that, I want to find a, b, and c. Okay? So now I'm going to use my formula, which is going to be v equals plus or minus, let me rephrase that. It's going to be negative b plus or minus the square root of b, which is 3 squared, minus 4 times a is 4 times c is negative 3, all over 2 times a is 4. And now I'm just going to start simplifying. So I've got negative 3 plus or minus the square root. 3 squared is 9. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Negative 16 times 3, okay, hold on a second, it's going to be positive, and 16 times 3 is, 6 times 3 is 18, 3 times 1 is 3, so it's 48, over 2 times 4 is 8. So now I'm going to simplify what's in under the parentheses. This is negative 3 plus or minus the square root. 48 and 9, that's going to be 57 over 8. And the last thing to check then is 57. You want to see if you can simplify that. Well, in order to simplify a radical, you want to look at only perfect squares. So the perfect squares are 1, 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. Not going to go any higher than 25. 4 isn't going to go into 17 or 57. 9 does not go into 57. 16 does not go into 57. 25 does not go into 57. So this is as simple as it can go, and we get that v equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 57 over 8. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and do one more. Example number 2. Use a quadratic formula to solve for the variable. So the first thing we got to do is we have to put this in quadratic form. I'm actually going to slide this over here so I got a little bit more space. So I'm going to put it in quadratic form. In order to do that, I have to get the right side to be 0, so I'm going to subtract 3 to both sides, giving me 5m squared plus 4m minus 5 equals 0. I'm now going to find a, which is 5, b, 4, c, negative 5, and now I'm going to plug it in. So we got m equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root b squared, that's 4 squared, minus 4 times 5 times negative 5, all over 2 times 5. That's That's negative 4 plus or minus the square root. 4 squared is 16. You have a negative and a negative, so it's going to be a positive. 4 times, 25. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 4 would be 100. Over 2 times 5 is 10. This is going to give you negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 116 over 10. Okay? Now, to show you how to simplify this, you have 116, which is divisible by 4. So I have this equals negative 4 plus or minus. I can write this as 4 times 29 over 10. I can split it here, so this gives me negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 times the square root of 29 over 10. This is going to be negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 is 2, square root of 29 over 10. Well, now I can simplify because I can factor a 2 out of the top. So this would be 2, and that would give me negative 2 plus or minus plus or minus the square root of 29 over 10. The 10 and the 2 will cancel, and it leaves me with m equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 29 over 5. Okay, because the 2 becomes a 1, the 10 becomes a 5. Alright? Now, again, make sure you write down your steps, write down any examples you have, and remember the new way that we're going to be running notes. So, you guys are going to be responsible for example number 3. And I'm also going to write example number 4 because I forgot to include it. So example number 4, the problem will be, it will be 2x squared minus 18, let me actually pull it up real quick, minus 18 equals 5x. Okay, so there's example 3, here's example 4. You guys need to do them, and then I will be picking somebody, 2 people, to do them on the board as soon as you guys come into class tomorrow. Okay, so write down any questions you have, be ready to work tomorrow, and let's try this out and see how it works. Have a great night, guys.